We came to the Center of Birds of Prey on our last day of vacation. I cannot recommend this place enough. It is spectacular. It was probably my favorite part of this vacation, of all the things we did. There's a seafood and homestyle restaurant just down the road, which is perfect for lunch, and there is also a gift shop on the property and plumbed bathrooms.
One of the ways I identify red-tailed hawks is by where I see them. These are birds that we often see perched along wooded edges where forests meet clearings. So a field edge like the one we've got right here in front of us, a power line easement, a golf course fairway. These are all great places to find red-tailed hawks. Your backyard is probably pretty good habitat for them if you're like most people. And when we think about their prey, it'll make even more sense. These are primarily hunters of small mammals, things like squirrels and rats, but primarily squirrels. The red-tailed hawk is a gray squirrel hunter throughout its range here in North America, and in South Carolina, most of our red-tailed hawks are making a living almost exclusively eating red-tailed hawks, but whatever they can catch in their feet. So hang out where the squirrels and rats and rabbits hang out, and eventually fly down and grab that prey. This bird was hanging out in a place where we see red-tailed hawks quite often, which is along the road edge. He was sitting on a utility pole, looking out over the median and the shoulders of the highway, and unfortunately when he did that, he ran into a big problem, which is hopefully obvious at this point, but if you're hunting by a highway, one bad thing happens to you, you get hit by a car. And that's what happened to this individual. He was involved in a collision with a vehicle. Unfortunately, the resulting injuries left him missing one of his eyes. He is missing his right eye completely, which makes it a challenge for him to know how far away he is in certain cases from the target, whether it's something he's trying to land on or whether it's something he's trying to grab. His depth perception is not as good as it would need to be a successful hunter out there, which is why he stays with us here at the center as an educational ambassador. So again, he's chosen another spot different from where Justine has asked him to go, but that's just fine. It is kind of a breezy day, and there's a lot of distractions out there. At this point, I'm going to open it up to questions. If anyone has questions about red-tailed hawks or anything at this point, let me know. Any questions over here? Yes. How many eggs will they lay? So a good general rule is the larger birds lay less eggs, the smaller birds lay more eggs. Not always the case, but it's a good general rule to get you started. Red-tailed hawks, 2, sometimes 3 eggs in a clutch. That would be a big clutch for red-tailed hawks if they had 3 young. Thinking about how much food they have to take back to the nest to feed those young, that's where the real challenge is. So you can't have more than 2 or 3 in a clutch. Great question. Yeah. How fast do they go? We'll see in just a minute. They're pretty fast. They can be pretty fast. Was there a question in the back there? Yeah, go ahead. How far can they see? That's a really good question. It's hard to know because we can't just jump inside their head and see what they can see. But we can look at their eyes and look at the anatomy of their eyes, and what we see there is they have a lot more photoreceptor cells in their eyes. So their eyes are a lot more powerful than ours. We think they could probably see detail a mile away. So a mouse running in the grass a mile away, red-tailed hawk could easily see it, determine where it's located, and then fly in and catch it in their feet. They're not usually hunting from a mile away. Typically, hunting would look a lot more like what this bird is doing right now, right? Sit on a low perch or maybe sit in a tree and ladder up in that tree a little bit, and then fly down and catch your prey out in the open. Yeah, here comes the prey, a rabbit running right towards you. And there we have a dead rabbit. Now you'll notice that he caught the rabbit using his feet, his talons. And that's the tool that he would then use to hold on to the prey and puncture the organs of the prey and ultimately dispatch the prey using those talons. Yeah. How long can they survive? That's a really great question. So most red-tailed hawks don't live very long, and it's something that most birds, for that matter, don't live very long. It's something interesting to look at. An average life expectancy for a red-tailed hawk only about 2 years in the wild, which always sounds low. It always gets kind of a shocked response from people. But if we think about it from the human standpoint, it'll be a little easier to understand. All of you students, what grade are you in? First grade. So they're what, like 8 years old now? Seven going on 8 years old. You're already 4 times as old as a red-tailed hawk ever gets to live on average in the wild, right? Why is it that you've been able to survive so long? Because why? Because you're people. It has nothing to do with being people. It has to do with who takes care of you till you're 40 years old, right? Your parents, right? You get what we call long-term parental care. Parents caring for children for years and years and decades and decades. Red-tailed hawk only gets about 12 weeks of parental care. So they're only with their parents for 3 months, and then their parents say, "Good luck, see you later." Sounds like a pretty good strategy, huh, parents? Right? Get on out, go make a living on your own. Most of them don't survive because of that, and so the average life expectancy is very low. Potential life expectancy is a lot higher. We know red-tailed hawks can live as long as 30 plus years. We have a red-tailed hawk in our educational collection that was the 14th patient in our hospital. She was treated in 1992, and she's still alive and kicking, still doing well. She's got a few issues related to her age, but she's still quite healthy, could live another 15 or 20 years perhaps. So they can live a very long time. Most of them, however, do not. All right, a couple more questions. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is his name Pale Male? So there is a red-tailed hawk, or there was. I don't know that Pale Male is still with us. I think Pale Male may have died. There was a red-tailed hawk in New York City named Pale Male that nested on the side of a skyscraper. Did you read about Pale Male? Yeah, cool. So Pale Male is a red-tailed hawk. He was a little paler on his chest than this red-tailed hawk, but very similar in most respects. Really cool living in an urban environment, right? These are species that can live in all kinds of different habitats. They might live near a field edge like this one. They might live in a big city like New York. Yeah. How tall can they get to be? This is as tall as a red-tailed hawk gets to be. About two. Oh, how high can they fly? Thousands of feet up. So if they need to, a red-tailed hawk could go higher than that tower easily and travel from that kind of height. That's about 2,000 feet. The highest the bird was ever seen was at over 30,000 feet. So an airplane pilot looked out of his window and saw a vulture flying right next to his airplane, and he looked at his altimeter and it said 32,000 feet or something like that. So they can go a lot higher than they usually do, right? They don't usually go to 30,000 feet. Go ahead, right here. Where do they live in the winter? That's a great question. So here in South Carolina, they live with us in the winter. It doesn't get that cold here in South Carolina, so we don't have to worry about winter. We don't have to migrate. But some red-tailed hawks, like the ones that live in Canada, will migrate south in the winter, and then they'll return to their breeding grounds in the north in the summer. So that's a great question. They are a migratory bird, but not all of them migrate. For instance, the ones that live with us in South Carolina, most of them don't go anywhere. No need to go anywhere. Yeah. Where did they live when they were in South Carolina and we had some snow? What did they do? They shivered and they hoped that a squirrel or a rat might come out, and they stayed right here in South Carolina. They didn't go anywhere, right? Migration usually isn't a response to something like that, like a weather event. Migration is usually a response to bigger trends, like it's going to change weather for a long time. You can't react by running away from the snow. You just hang on and hope you don't freeze to death when it does snow. Any questions down here on this end? Giving you a shot. A lot in the middle. Oh, there must be a bonus bird. I see you pointing. Way up there. To the right. Okay, yeah, way up here. A big dark colored bird. I don't know yet what it is. I'm guessing from a smaller subset of big dark colored birds, but that might be a red-tailed hawk because of what it's doing right now. See what it's doing? It turned into the wind. The wind is flowing this direction, and it stopped there, and it's just hanging. That's called kiting. Just like a toy kite at the beach. He's up there hanging in the wind, and when he turned in the wind, I saw his red tail. So that's a red-tailed hawk, another adult red-tailed hawk. We'll keep our eye on it. Everybody see the red tail now when he turns? And he's kiting again. You see the bird we're talking about? He's way up there. But he's hanging, right? He's just stopped in the wind. That's called kiting, like the toy kite at the beach. And we'll circle back around to that behavior in a few minutes. And I'm going to let the rest of the team know that there is a red-tailed hawk cruising around so that we're aware of it. So she took the antenna off of the bird. That's the radio transmitter. That's the tracking device. And we used the same transmitter on different birds. So she took it off the red-tailed hawk once he was no longer able to fly off, right? Once she had him attached to her glove, she could then say, okay, there's no risk of you flying away now. I'll take this transmitter off of you, and I'll put it onto the next bird that was waiting on the cart back here behind the... These are secrets of the program, right? That you're seeing the behind-the-scenes action, right? Transmitter moved from one bird to another. So we're going to shift gears a little bit with the next bird.
So it's $25 for adults and $17 for youth. It's completely and totally worth it. This was probably our favorite thing to do on the entire vacation. We came for the guided flight at 10:30 in the morning, then went out for lunch, and then came back for the Allison flight in the afternoon. There's a gift shop, there's plumbed bathrooms. They're only open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The paths are flat enough to navigate with a wheelchair, and there is an accessible bathroom. We went out to the Seaweed restaurant. They serve a lot of seafood, but they also serve just regular home style cooking as well. They have great hush puppies. Think about getting there right when they open because there's a lunch rush every single day. The prices are reasonable. The bathrooms are outside.